The following episode contains approximately 815 spoilers for all seasons and episodes of Lost. You've been warned. Greetings and welcome back to Lost the Plot. It's the podcast where two Irish lads talk a heap of shite about ABC's Lost. My name is Dave. Thank you for joining us again. And thank you to my co-host for joining me. It's Ado. What's up, man?
Oh, sorry. I was taking a slurp from me Carlsberg when you said my name there, folks. Hey, everyone. How you doing? Ado here.
The sound of tinnies. Very nice. We're recording this on February 1st. Dry January is over for me, but I don't have any tins today. What a shame.
Fuck yeah, February 1st. Dry January's over, man. You're not raging to bait back into them, like?
Not particularly, actually. I've enjoyed the sort of health benefits I've gotten from staying off the drink. Like you, I wasn't much of a frequent or heavy drinker, although maybe a bit heavier than yourself. But yeah, I don't know. The biggest thing for me with drinking is catching up on sleep for the next few days. Because with alcohol, it's a sedative, right? So you fall asleep quite easy. You're not actually falling asleep. You're just losing consciousness. And so you don't get a proper rest. And I don't know.
I can actually give you a slightly more scientific explanation of that if you want.
Please do.
Alcohol depletes your vitamin B12, which is what gives you that rested feeling when you've woken up after sleeping.
There you go. I've been scienced.
Boom. Yes, science.
Man of science, man of
tins. Man, listen, you just mentioned it. I'm not much of a drinker. The only reason I've got a couple of cans of Carlsberg here with me is because there was a friend of my missus's over yesterday and he brought cans and he just left two behind. I don't drink simply because I forget to buy it.
Yeah, me too.
And there just happens to be two cans in the fridge today. So I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'll have those when I'm recording. Why not?
The country I live in doesn't exactly make it easy for me to buy booze all the time either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do like the government-run liquor stores here. I'm used to it because they did that in Ontario as well, and I lived there for a long time. But yeah, it closed on Sundays. So if I get a hankering on Sunday, it's a 3.5% can from the supermarket.
Oh, well.
Anyway, how was your week? Anything going on in your life?
No, week's been pretty boring. Same old. But I've been trying to catch up with the younger generation. You know, a lot of people think I'm young, but I'm getting on in years. For full disclosure,
who the fuck thinks you're young?
Fuck off. For full disclosure, I am 31 years old, right? Yeah, not quite very young, but not old either. I'm in that weird age bracket, right?
31 is the new 25.
No, it's not. It's the same 31 as it's always been. Just the world's more on fire. But I've been trying to catch up with this younger generation, and I've decided to download this amazing new little app I've heard about. I say new, it's been out for a while now. TikTok. Do you use the old TikToks, Dave?
Okay, your introduction to it was obviously sarcastic, okay? I mean, the oldest of the old, the boomers of the boomer has heard of TikTok.
Yeah, it's taken the internet by storm, which really betrays how old I am. I'm using a phrase like that, right?
I think we spoke about this before. Maybe we cut this. We both said we kind of have secondhand exposure to TikTok. Like you see them on Instagram, which is what I do as well. But I also just get my girlfriend poking me on the shoulder while we're both sitting on our phones and pointing a TikTok video at me. And then that's kind of how I familiarize myself with the lore and the memes of TikTok.
Yeah, so here's the thing. That's what I was doing. But then I learned a curious thing about TikTok. There was a friend of mine who was telling me all about the ins and outs of how TikTok works. And TikTok has supposedly this bizarrely complex algorithm that takes so many things into account of just you watching random videos on it. It not only takes note of which ones you like, which content creators you follow, and then suggesting similar stuff. It takes note of how long in like nanoseconds you are watching each video, right? And based on that, the algorithm starts to learn what you're into, what you like watching, and it will just keep showing you more and more of that. So I was like, to the best of my knowledge, Instagram's not doing that. Instagram's just showing me the same fucking videos with the helicopter audio or the no music clip or some shit.
God,
like
I hate that clip.
It's the same stuff over and over again, remixed by different users. And don't get me wrong, like that's kind of funny. But I wanted to see what would happen with TikTok. My boy, can you guess? Do you have any idea what happened with TikTok?
The algorithm was shockingly effective and you've sunk hours into it without even realizing you've done so.
TikTok is a watch machine. From when I downloaded it, a week later, I opened up my TikTok and video after video after video was nothing but ultra busty women. I was like, honey, look at this. It's just showing me girl after girl after girl after girl. And I was like, yeah, because that's what TikTok has learned you like. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it ain't wrong.
That settles it. I can never download TikTok while I'm in a relationship.
Yeah, depends on who you're in a relationship with, buddy.
Well, speaking of relationships and busty women, Ado, this is our Valentine's Day special. Did you know that?
It is indeed. Yes. This episode, the day we release this episode, it is Wednesday, the 16th of February, I believe.
It's the love week. Just kidding. Don't let corporations let Valentine's Day expand into the full week. You know, I don't have much of an opinion on Valentine's Day. If people want to do the Valentine's thing, that's fine. That's nice. But it's not really for me. How about yourself? Any thoughts?
Yeah, Valentine's Day was always one of those things that I celebrated out of, what would you say, an obligation because of my partner. Like if I didn't do something, she'd be pissed, right? Now, not my current partner. We haven't had a Valentine's Day yet, but I don't think there's going to be any great furore about it. Neither of us are big into holidays. We hate, the whole capitalist system that's permeating society. So Valentine's Day is not going to be a big thing in our house, but we might mark it. We might recognize it in some small little way, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Do your thing. Don't play into it because a corporation tells you to. Do it because you want to, because you care about the person. But I'll tell you, both of us have our respective girlfriends as our Valentines this year. But our podcast has got a Valentine this year, Ado.
Yes, it does.
This year, our Valentine is Mr. Jorge Garcia.
Jorge Garcia.
Who plays Hurley on the show, the focus character of today's episode. And to mark the occasion, we want to encourage our listeners to join us in a campaign. Often on this podcast, in fact, about once an episode, we will mention how it is our dream to have tins with Jorge Garcia, to drink cans. And we'd like to kindly ask our devoted listeners if they wouldn't mind helping us achieve that dream. And, in return, you get Jorge Garcia on the podcast. You get to hear one of the stars of Lost talk about the show. So what we're proposing is a social media campaign just to make Jorge aware of our podcast. Yeah,
no harassing, no stalking in real life.
I mean, if you know his address and you want to walk by with a sign once, one walk by that says Jorge, go on, lost the plot, then, that's fine. As long as it doesn't border on harassment or stalking, like we said. But we're going to use the hashtag Cans with Jorge. Jorge is spelled Jorge.
For all you gringos out there.
We're going to use that hashtag. And we would like to ask our listeners just to go on social media. On Twitter, you can tag Jorge. I think his handle is @Jorge_Garcia. And just say, hey, Jorge, you should go on @LostThePlotLads and drink cans with a couple of Irish guys. Something like that, something to that effect. You can, if you're ahead of marketing somewhere, zazz that up a little bit.
And in typical fashion, Ado is going to throw an idea out there, fresh on the air Dave has not heard before, just to put him on the spot awkwardly. Dave, do you want to pick a random winner, someone who does this, and have them on an episode?
Oh, I like that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. We'll pick someone who helps us with this at random, and they can be a guest on one of our episodes. That's a dope idea.
Just listen to the tone of his voice, listeners. He's going to pull me into a fucking internal HR meeting after this.
Cans with Jorge, cans with a listener. If you don't have Twitter or it's not your thing, or in addition to the Twitter campaign, if you want to go on Jorge's Instagram, which is @pronouncedJorge, spelled Horhay. It's like phonetically how you pronounce it in English. And just comment on a photo that he posts, maybe the newest photo or any that he posts after that, and tag us, Lost the Plot Lads. use the hashtag Cans with Jorge and just kindly prompt him. Just make him aware of our podcast and see if we can maybe get a small chance of him coming on here.
And what do you think, Dave? Will we give people till the end of the month before we pick a random winner?
Yeah, let's say 2 weeks is probably a reasonable amount of time, right? So if we pick one on
2nd of March would be exactly 2 weeks from this release day.
Yeah, we'll pick one on the 2nd of March.
So yes, kind listeners, please tag Senor Garcia on Instagram, Twitter. Do not harass him. He's just a dude. He's not some godly, I was going to say godly celebrity. Dude is a celebrity, but he's not, he puts his pants on the same way the rest of us do, one leg at a time. Don't harass the dude. He doesn't like that. But if you want to just just tag him, hashtag Cans with Jorge.
Here, this is what I'm picturing, right? Have you ever heard about the Weezer Africa incident?
No.
Okay, I'll really quick because this is just such a heartwarming story and I want to tell it to you. And this will be a good example of this happening to us. And by the way, there is a connection here because Weezer have an album called Hurley and the cover of the album is just a picture of Jorge Garcia.
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah. So trivia, I guess. But yeah, there was a fan on Twitter. I think she was like a 16-year-old girl or something, right? And she created a Twitter account because she really wanted the band Weezer to cover the song Africa by Toto.
Okay.
And so she made this account and just kept tweeting at Weezer every day from this account going, I want you to bless the rains. Stuff like that. And wouldn't you know it, Weezer took notice of this and they released a cover of Rosanna by Toto.
Oh.
And then a week later, they released a cover of Africa by Toto.
Ah, there we go.
It was just one of those fucking great internet stories where it's just no toxicity, just all positivity, and especially Weezer's little fake out where they did a different Toto song. Rosanna, fucking great song, by the way. And they did it's a pretty word for word cover, if you want to put it that way. They didn't really put much of a spin on it.
Sure.
But it's a great cover. And this was a 16-year-old girl. I don't know how I know that. I think that was in a news release about it or something because they interviewed her afterwards. But yeah, great little internet moment. Let this be our Weezer covering Africa moment. Get Jorge Garcia on this podcast to drink tins.
I tell you what moment I want it to also be because I'm strongly reminded of the Pitbull story. Do you remember that time? There was a Facebook vote. You know the story. Facebook
This is
vote.
Fucking great.
There was a vote on Facebook to get Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide himself, to play in one Walmart anywhere in the United States. I want to say 4chan got in on this. I don't know if it was 4chan, but the public overwhelmingly voted for Walmart in Kodiak, Alaska.
Yeah, which is I think it's the least populated town where there's a Walmart, right?
Yeah. And the cunt did it.
He did it.
Full on did it. There's pictures on the internet and everything to do with it. It's phenomenal.
Absolute PR victory for that man. Fair play to him. Say what you will about him or his music, but that was a good move on his part.
Yeah. Unlike, what's her name? Taylor Swift. Did you ever hear that story?
Yeah, it's a similar thing, right? But I think in lieu of doing it, she donated to a charity or something. Tell the story first and then it'll make more sense.
I know less about this story. Taylor Swift, similar vote to the public, I believe, but it was voted that she'd go and perform a concert at a school. And the school that ended up being picked was a school for the deaf.
That was it, yeah. And then she very graciously donated a large sum of money to that school, but she didn't play the concert. Anyway, tweet at Jorge Garcia, comment on his Instagram. We don't have a listener email this week. So in lieu of that, if you cannot tweet or Instagram Jorge Garcia because you don't have social media, send us an email, losttheplotlads@gmail.com. Ado, I think it's about time to get into the episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's that time.
All right, let's do it. Let's go. So this week we are covering season 1, episode 18 of Lost, entitled Numbers. We know why it's called Numbers. No hidden meaning there.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident I know why.
We're stacking numbers in terms of episode count, though. 18. We're hurtling towards the finale, Ado.
Man, we are actually coming up on the finale of season 1. I can't believe it.
So Numbers first aired on the 2nd of March, 2005. That was my brother's 12th birthday. Shout out to Matt.
Hey, shout out, Matt.
two-time writer into the show. Matt, send us another email. This episode was directed by Dan Atias, who I believe is a newcomer in the director's chair.
Yeah, that's an unfamiliar name.
Yeah, this dude's a prolific TV director. His credits include The Sopranos, The Wire, Deadwood, Alias, House, you boy. This is one of 2 episodes of Lost that he directed. The second one is not till season 6, the episode Everybody Loves Hugo. Yeah, so we're not going to see Dan for a while. He also directed a couple episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I had a feeling there was going to be at least one comedy show there because this Hurley episode, I mean, Hurley's the comedic element of Lost anyway. So there's elements of this episode that are fucking hilarious, right? And there are elements of this episode that are so characteristic of a director who's well-versed in comedy that I figured there had to be someone with comedy chops here. But from the list of TV shows you just labeled that Daniel Atias has worked on, most of them seem thriller. Like I heard Sopranos, House. Yeah, there's a few of them in there.
Yeah, it seems to mostly be drama.
Yeah, drama, sorry.
But yeah, he's definitely dipped his toe into comedy as well. This episode was written by David Fury, our boy, along with another newcomer, I think, Brent Fletcher.
Ooh, Brent Fletcher. Is he definitely a newcomer or has he done something else? No?
As far as I can tell, this is the first episode he's had his name on. He was a freelance writer, so I don't really know how he linked up with David Fury in this way. He wasn't on staff, I don't think, which is weird. I'm not really sure how freelance writers work in TV or if that even happens anymore. But yeah, he doesn't have a storied career maybe as some of the other writers on the show, but he currently writes on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a show I did not know was still on the air.
It's not anymore. It's finished. It has literally just finished in the last year, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, then Wikipedia needs to update its information. Before I start, do you have anything to say about the Previously on Lost? Because I don't.
Previously on Lost got me so excited because it just deals with the Hatch and Rousseau. That's it. And I'm like, these are 2 of the biggest things in Lost I want to see more of this season, right? I don't want to see Boone whinging over Shannon. I don't want to see Saeed developing his romance with Shannon. I just don't want any more fucking Shannon. I don't want any more of this human element. I want to know about the island. I want to know about the mysteries. I want all this shit. So Previously on Lost has the Hatch. It's got Rousseau. Yes, please give me more of this shit.
Hook that lore to our veins. So after that, we open on crashing waves, and Hurley and Jin are working on the raft. And I feel like up until this point in season 1, Hurley's been sort of running a series of tryouts for his odd couple other half. And I think Jin is strongly in the lead here.
Well, Jin recently just became available after ditching that sly son, after embarrassing him, fucking exposing him as being the only non-English speaker on the island. So Jin did the right thing, ditched her to the curb, and now Hurley's got his eyes on him like, oh yeah, he's available.
We got son of immigrants Hurley here. So they're working on this raft. And Jin makes this hand gesture to get Hurley to do something. And Hurley doesn't understand, but he takes a swing at it. He guesses he wants to make a snowball.
Yeah. That's like the only thing from that scene I have written down, just in quotation marks. You want to make snowballs? Like, dude, you're on a beach. If anything, he wants to make sandballs. Also, why are sandballs not a thing? Why don't people have sandball fights on the beach?
Oof, that would hurt. Getting hit.
You know what? Actually,
it
fucking would.
But ice often ends up in snowballs as well. That fucking hurts. So Michael helpfully confirms that Jin wants him to hold the bamboo tighter. And it seems like Locke's rallying cry against the others sort of seems to have inspired this new group effort towards the new raft, because there's a few people working on this.
Yeah, there's definitely a few people working on it. Like Hurley's working on it for some bizarre reason, but
we have a couple of red shirts.
After what happened in the last episode, you really have to admire Michael's fortitude, to be able to go back and try again, because surely he used up all of his best materials to make the first raft, right?
Yeah, I wonder, has the second raft notably suffered because of lack of things that the other one was going to have?
Surely, right? I mean, what was making that raft stay together? A weird sentence composition aside.
Well, it was the friends we made along the way.
It's bamboo and scrap metal from what I can tell, with rope. So what would have burned away? The scrap metal should have been fine, right? In a fire like that, or would it have been badly damaged?
Yeah, I'm not sure. but all I know is the only raft that can never sink is a friend raft. So Jack shows up and Michael tells him that the raft is under constant surveillance now after the incident in the last episode.
Yeah.
But he expresses the need for like an SOS signal for after they set sail, just in case they see a ship out there or something like that, or a plane even.
And they've no flares or anything. Obviously not. That would be the first thing you'd think of, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I thought maybe there'd be one in the cockpit of the plane, but I guess nobody really wants to go back there after what happened last time.
Yeah, although that monster hasn't made its appearance in a long time. I'm getting a little bit, I've got a hankering on me for some of that monster action.
Yeah, I'm starting to question whether it ever really existed at all. Wasn't it in Boone's head at one point?
Yeah, it was in Boone's head, but come on, we're going to need to see some real life monster mash right about now.
So Jack says he'll ask Saeed because he assumes correctly that if anyone can make a distress signal out of fucking nothing, it's him. But he's not sure even Saeed's skills can cover that. Hurley helpfully then reminds them of Danielle Rousseau's batteries because Saeed mentioned that she had shit like that in her cabin. And we cut to this immediate refusal from Saeed. He's like, nope.
Now, hold up. That shot of Hurley piping in about, the crazy French chick, like, didn't she have batteries? And then immediately cutting to Saeed going, absolutely not. That is one of those cuts that I just think is so characteristic of a comedy director.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point.
That stood out to me immediately. Like, it's not really involving Hurley. Hurley's not the subject of the comedy here. Saeed is, who you would never expect. Saeed is like the most serious character in this show. But it just works the way that it's done. Probably because he's so serious. He acts like a straight man. But the joke is just in the
severity of the cut.
Yeah.
It feels like Hurley's barely got the line out of his mouth before it cuts to it. And yeah, you're right. It has a really effective comedic effect.
Yeah. It got a chuckle out of me.
So Jack says that he'll go. Saeed doesn't have to do it, but Saeed's not having any of it. And Jack and Hurley keep kind of pressing the issue. And Saeed flips out. He's really frustrated. I think he's just fucking sick of trying to translate Rousseau's nonsense on the paper, but he picks up the papers and he starts raving about them and he stuffs them in Hurley's hands. And Hurley just starts leafing through out of curiosity. Saeed mentions how Danielle sort of marked the area where she lives on the map and she's labeled it dark territory, which sounds like a sign you'd see on an emo kid's bedroom. But Hurley's flicking through these documents and maps and shit unnoticed. And he stops on one that catches his attention. And it's a series of numbers repeated 7 times on a page. And those numbers are 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Repeated 7 times.
Probably one of the most random strings of numbers ever.
Well, not if you're in any way familiar with Lost. And it occurred to me that we have referred to the numbers a few times in the past, but anyone who's watching along with us and has never seen Lost probably doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about until this episode.
Is this their first appearance?
I mean, it's the first time they're deliberately pointed out as the numbers, but they have popped up once or twice.
No, I mean, like the number 4 being significant or the number 16 being significant at one point in an episode doesn't count. Like to see them all labeled out in a string here.
Yeah, no, I believe this is the first appearance of that.
Oh, nice.
This triggers a flashback in Hurley where we'll learn more about these numbers. So Hurley's sitting in his living room. He's channel flipping. He's wearing like a chicken sort of fast food restaurant worker uniform, and he's eating a bucket of chicken from that very same restaurant. And he stops on the lotto, and his mama comes in and she gives him shit for watching TV on a Saturday night. Yeah, you should be out getting a woman. And Hurley says he'll get right on that.
He's a hardworking man. He deserves his rest on a Saturday evening, like any man, any king of his castle deserves to.
He works in the service industry, the fast food industry, no less. That dude needs a break. So he turns his attention back to the lottery where the numbers have been called. And those numbers are 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. The same numbers that we heard before. And as Hurley holds up his ticket, we realize they're the exact same numbers on his lottery ticket.
Hurley has just won the fucking lottery.
The announcer notes that there hasn't been a winner for 16 weeks, numbers. So we are talking big fucking bucks here. And as a realization dawns on Hurley that he's now a multimillionaire, he faints. And by the sounds of things, he makes absolute shite of his ma's furniture.
Yeah,
He's a multimillionaire. He can buy his man new coffee table. We get our title card. When we come back, it is nighttime, and Saeed rolls over, repositioning himself on his bedroll before a presence catches his attention, and he opens his eyes, and Hurley is sitting there staring at him.
literally like a fucking stalker. He's just in there. He's like, I hate it. Like watching him while he sleeps.
And he's got some questions about the French lady's notes, and Saeed has some questions about why the fuck he has questions in the middle of the night.
I love how useless Hurley is at this. Like Hurley's asking about, that crazy French chick and were you able to translate any meaning out of it? And Saeed is all like, Hurley, what do you want? And Hurley's like, oh, nothing, just, making conversation. Like the least convincing way possible. Like, dude, get better at this.
Yeah, so like you said, Hurley wants to know what Saeed and Shannon have unearthed thus far. Saeed asks him to be more specific, and he plays innocent, but he kind of like goes, how about these numbers, for example? Saeed hasn't a clue. Hurley kind of pushes him for more info on Rousseau's location. He makes him make a conversation comment. And then when he's pressed, he fucks off, secretly stealing one of the maps, shoving it down his trousers. We get another flashback. There's a bunch of reporters outside Hurley's gaff. It's a big news story that he's won all this money. They ask him how he thought of the numbers, one reporter, and Hurley says they just came to him. And then his brother quickly interjects and goes, woo, we're rich.
Excuse me, motherfucker, I'm rich. That would have been my immediate response.
Diego, you fucking leech. But yeah, Hurley is really sweet introducing his family here, particularly his abuelo, Tito, who has worked 3 jobs for the last 52 years. I'm sorry, but if that's what your society forces you to do, that's not an inspirational story. That's a tragedy.
Yes, the American dream.
So Hurley says he's going to spend the money making up for some hard times that he's put his family through recently. We don't find out much about that comment in this episode, but it's something to note.
And he wants to give his abuelo the rest he deserves.
Yeah, exactly.
And he fucking does that, all right.
Yeah, as he's talking, it becomes apparent that something's not right with Abuelito, who winces in pain and then collapses. There's a big panic. We cut back to the island. Hurley's collecting water in the caves, like just filling water bottles. And Charlie shows up and Hurley jumps. What? I'm not doing anything.
He's literally just filling a few bottles of water. He could easily have said, oh, I'm bringing some down to the beach for the guys, some fresh water or some shit like that.
Yeah, anything would have done.
But no, he's literally acting so shady. I mean, dude, we weren't thinking you were doing anything shady until you acted that way, okay?
Which are Charlie's thoughts exactly, I think. So he's stuffing a bunch of filled water bottles in his bag. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And Charlie asks if he's going somewhere, which Hurley suspiciously denies, but then quickly backtracks on. And he says he's going on a walk to scope out some new fishing area. Charlie wants to come with, but Hurley says he could really use some alone time, which is fair.
Yeah, he gets a little bit pissy about it when Charlie tries to insist. But in fairness, though, Charlie is kind of, shoving himself into the situation. Like, oh, I'll come with, which I guess is an innocent thing. He wants to keep Charlie, or not Charlie, he's Charlie. He wants to keep Hurley company. I'm sorry, I keep mixing up their names because to me, they are my favorite chip in this whole thing. Shirley, I like to call them. Or Harley, whichever you prefer.
So Charlie's also pretty sus of all the water, but Hurley says it's because he's a big guy. He gets dehydrated easily, which is also fair.
Is it true that bigger people get dehydrated more easily?
I don't know if you're sweating more, maybe.
Oh, maybe they are actually. Yeah, because they're transporting more mass. It's more effort. It's more work putting in. Yeah, they will sweat more often. Okay, yeah, sure. I get that. I buy that. Sorry, go on.
So we cut back to the beach and Claire's sitting there and she is approached by Locke and he asks her for help with a project. He needs her to saw something. He asks in a very sort of fatherly, Locke-ish way, little dad jokey way. Can you move your arm like this? And Claire, I wrote this down before we got to the scene at the end, but Claire looks like she needs something to do. And so this is like Locke just, as usual, being really attuned to other people's needs.
Yeah, and am I right in saying that this is like the first time that we just see these two characters interacting directly with each other?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, Locke carried her back from the jungle that time, but that was hardly an interaction.
No, I wouldn't count that. I mean, I know we're going to go into it in more detail throughout this episode, but I just love every scene of these two together. It's so heartwarming.
Yeah, it's really sweet. It's quite father-daughtery. Like it's I mean, they become friends, I think, after this episode, but it definitely seems like a father-daughter sort of thing going as well. Locke is looking out for her and looking after her.
Aww.
Claire asks what they're going to be building, but of course, Locke can't let anything go that easy.
No, he just gives her the silent treatment on that one. We cut to the next scene.
Back at the caves, Saeed confronts Jack and he asks him where the missing map is. And Jack hasn't a fucking notion what he's on about. Saeed accuses him of having Hurley steal it for him before quickly realizing that Jack had nothing to do with it. Charlie shows up and confirms that Hurley's fucked off and that he was acting a bit weird earlier. And the realization dawns on them.
Yeah, they finally joined the dots together and realize Hurley's going after Rousseau for whatever reason that may be.
For some fucking reason, yeah. They must be really confused. Like, they don't know what we know. We cut to Saeed almost immediately again, although not comedically this time. And he's telling Shannon that he's off after Hurley. He's going with Jack and Charlie.
This is just a small little scene there only to tell the audience that Shannon and Saeed are still a thing. Don't forget about them. She's worrying about him going off, playing with his buddies in the jungle. And we'll get back to them at a later episode at some point, whatever.
There's an established relationship. And now Saeed's going down the pub with his mates. And then we cut to Hurley traipsing across the beach to some banging hippity hop.
I fucking love it. Did you get the name of the song by any chance?
I did. And I actually have a little bit of trivia about that later on. Do you want me to save the song title till then?
Before we started recording, Dave, you told me that the trivia section for this is going to be meaty. So I think we can spare a little taste. Hit me with a little trivia on this, please.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to tell you the trivia because I don't have it up in front of me. And I don't remember it exactly. But I will tell you the name of the song. It's a song called Who You Wit, spelled W-I-T, by Chris the Glove Taylor. And if you have never heard of that artist, there's a reason.
Why? What's the reason?
You'll have to tune in to the end of the episode, Ado.
Oh, okay.
Put it this way. I Shazammed this song while the episode was on because I wanted to write down the title of it, and Shazam could not find it.
Holy
that piqued my
shit.
interest.
And Shazam is like magic. Shazam is actually fueled by wizards. It can tell you anything.
This episode not sponsored by Shazam. We get a flashback with this same song, and Hurley is cruising in his new yellow Hummer. What is it with people who come into a large sum of money and yellow Hummers?
That was definitely a mid-2000s thing. Those cars have died out, I think. I mean, the only reason I think a lot of people know this car, or at least the only reason why I know this car, is that it's unlockable in Need for Speed Underground 2. The Hummer H2 Capone.
That alone tells you how much of a mid-aughts thing it is. Need for Speed. So Hurley is blaring this track until his mat hasn't turned it down. And he's got like this fresh tracksuit on. And he's bringing her somewhere. And they have a quick little discussion about, his granddad's funeral. And he reveals that the priest got struck by lightning.
I love how he just skims over that. Like, no, a dude got hit by lightning.
He also mentions that his brother Diego, his Mrs. Lisa, left him for a waitress.
Yeah, one of the few nouns in the English language that actually is gendered, waiter and waitress. So that context tells us that she left him for another woman. Ooh, unlucky.
Fair play to her, though, choosing love over money.
Yeah, right? I noted that as well.
True to herself. Shout out to Lisa. So Hurley wonders aloud whether the money might be cursed, and he's quickly shot down by his mother, who cites their Catholicism. They don't believe in curses.
We're Catholic. We don't believe in curses. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I didn't know that was a stipulation. I don't remember that in the terms and conditions.
And then he hands his ma a do-rag to use as a blindfold. And he pulls up to this fucking mansion.
Oh, fucking beautiful house. I mean, obviously that house is owned by somebody in real life and would have been at the time, right? So can you imagine producers of this random new TV show coming up to your house, like door to door, ding dong, hey, can we like use your house for a scene in our TV show? We want to show off what a really expensive fancy mansion looks like. That's got to feel good, right?
I mean, those people know how much their house costs. I think they already feel pretty good.
Damn fucking straight.
But with a house like that, Hurley's ma is going to be a prime target for one of Sawyer's cons. Next Sawyer episode, it's going to be him bursting into a hotel room, making out with her. So he's about to reveal this mansion to her, and she trips on the curb and breaks her fucking ankle.
That's gotta hurt.
Really good effect or whatever they did there. No, it looked pretty graphic.
Rubber leg, I imagine. Do you know what? I'm such a sucker for that. I mean, something about people's ankles and feet, if they get dismembered, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, in a zombie movie, someone just turns their foot one way and starts dragging it behind them. I'm like, ugh.
Hurley turns to look at the mansion, and there's a fucking fire in one of the
How?
rooms.
It's meant to be empty. There shouldn't be anyone in there. What was he doing? Making Pop-Tarts up in the bedroom or something before he went to get his mother?
Unless he furnished it for her, maybe first. He's got the money to do so, but yeah, I don't know. And just as he's about to call 911, 2 or 3 fucking squad cars show up out of nowhere. All these cops jump out, point their guns at Hurley, slam him on the bonnet of his new Hummer, and place him under arrest. Bit of trivia about that later on.
Okay. I'm excited.
Back on the island, Hurley finds that cable that Saeed mentioned previously. It led him to Rousseau's trap. And he calls out, "Hey, French chick." No response. And he starts following the cable again.
This cable, right? Saeed found it and started following it into the jungle. Hurley finds it and does the same thing, right? Just following the cable. Why is no one curious about the other end of it in the fucking ocean? No one's asking this question.
Yeah, that's true, because they get to the end of it in the jungle in this episode. But yeah, you're right. Nobody's like, why is it going out that way?
No, do you know what they should have done? They should have severed that cable, waited, and just see who showed up to complain.
Oh, no, there's an idea.
That's what I always did when I was running tech support in my hotel. If I ever wanted to find out what a particular switch did or a button, I just hit it, turned it off, and see who came to complain. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it controls that computer. Awesome. Gotcha.
So we get another flashback, pretty rapid fire flashbacks here. And Hurley's in the city meeting with his accountant, who informs him that all his shares are up and that he's now the majority shareholder in a box company in Tustin.
I love that, because we already have that knowledge of what that box company in Tustin is. We know someone from Tustin who worked at a box company.
Yep. Hurley is now Locke's boss.
Technically, yeah. And they don't even know it, and they're stranded on this island together. I love it, man.
We zoom out, we see the accountant, and this dude looks like if Seth Rogen fucked Paul Giamatti.
And some sloppy abomination slithered out of one of their asses.
Yeah, for like a money man, he's quite a likable character. Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, because these money guys, accountants, financial advisors in TV shows, they're always portrayed as being so straight-laced and monotonous and just boring in general. He's actually personable, he's nice.
He got some of Seth Rogen's personality and none of Paul Giamatti's. So that's good. He also informs Hurley that his sneaker factory in Canada burned down and 8 people died.
Oh, that's a number.
Yeah, I should mention that the numbers pop up all over this episode. He mentions a settlement from the LAPD for Hurley's false arrest. And with that and all the stocks being up and all that, Hurley's net worth has doubled in a few short weeks, which puts him at about, what, 228 million?
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, asked about those numbers again. Speaking of, Hurley realizes that the money's not cursed. The numbers are.
Now, what triggers this realization? Because it's ever since he won the money, the bad luck has been happening. So what makes him think it's the fucking numbers all of a sudden? I mean, sure, it is the numbers, but I would have stuck with the money theory if I had all the information that he had.
Yeah, it is an interesting conclusion to jump to. I can't really think why he would. The accountant is about to argue. He says there's no such thing as before being interrupted by a man plummeting to his death outside the window behind him.
Yeah, just someone jumped out of the building. I shouldn't be laughing. That's fucking tragic. But the timing of it, it's portrayed for comedy purposes for some reason. And I hate to say it, but it's effective. And
it's just very apparent that bad shit is happening around Hurley. It's not exactly bad luck because, with all due respect to this guy, Hurley probably didn't know him. So it's not unlucky for Hurley that this guy died, but it's misfortune is following him, basically. Back on the island, Michael is hammering something into the raft and he's really bothering Sawyer, who's trying to read.
Yeah, Sawyer picked a great place to sit and read.
Yeah, right? There's a whole fucking beach. There's a whole island.
Imagine grabbing a book and deciding to go sit next to a construction site and then getting pissed off at the jackhammer. Like, dude, get real.
So Sawyer complains to Michael and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is my building a raft to get us rescued bothering you?" Which, fair point. And then Jin fucks up a bunch of logs that were tied together, which kicks off this argument between him and Michael. They're shouting at each other and Sawyer can't stand the noise any longer. And he fucks off. And quick little side note here, sensitivity to loud noises caused by eye strain from reading without reading glasses.
Fuck, there's another hint. Because didn't we have a hint before that he might need glasses?
You had trivia that they retrofitted him missing Eddie Mars's heart. They justified that later by writing an episode where he needs glasses.
Yes. That is absolutely correct, apparently.
Hilarious. But I think in this case, this was intentional. So they had planned the glasses now.
Seamless. Love it.
But this argument is being observed by Sun, who's talking to Cade. And Sun reckons Jin will never speak to her again because she humiliated him.
Yeah, I still can't get over if I was in Jin's shoes, how I would feel. Like, shit.
But he's getting lost in his work. Fair play to him.
Lost.
We're back to Hurley following the cable through the jungle, and he comes across like a strung up boar. Locke's done with it. Locke's left the money on the dresser. And then he steps on some kind of pressure pad and he notices it and he's about to step off when Saeed comes from the bushes, goes, no, don't do it.
Has Hurley never watched a fucking movie in his life? Like, I would have stood on that and thought, oh, that's it. I'm dead. I'm standing on a landmine.
Yeah, or played a video game or something. Surely, with all due respect to him, he seems the type who would have played video games.
Right.
Saeed tells Hurley that if he takes his weight off the pad, he's going to be in a world of fucking pain because we look up and there is a rake of spikes on a little swingy thing. Basically, his ass is going to be impaled if he steps off that pressure pad. So he says they need to find something to replace his weight, and Charlie isn't hopeful, which Hurley is quite offended by. Hurley drops the wire in a tense moment, and he says he can get out of the way in time because he's spry. Well, turns out he's not wrong because he does it against the protests of everybody else and he makes it out of the way.
Yeah, the cunt makes it.
Fair play to him. That was a good little leap. Jack asks him why the fuck he's out there. Hurley says he came out to get a battery. I think they're skeptical, but Saeed offers to take the lead, which Charlie wholeheartedly supports.
Yeah, they decide, okay, we're all out here in the fucking jungle. We're this far away from camp. Let's just go get this fucking battery.
Sunk cost fallacy. Let's just fucking do it. We get another flashback and Hurley's at a psychiatric hospital and he's inquiring after a patient named Lenny or Leonard. He doesn't have a last name, so the nurse says she can't help him, but Hurley gets distracted by this guy behind the nurse who's like precariously balancing on a ladder, trying to change a light bulb in this light fixture. And Hurley goes, dude, do not do that right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I have changed quite a number of light bulbs in my time, especially from like chandeliers and shit like that. That dude's ladder is way too short. He should have a second person there. And go back and look at the scene. He has set up that ladder way too far away from the light fixture. So when he's at the top of the ladder, he's leaning right over his center of gravity.
Maybe there's like a table below it or something. But yeah, all that being considered, and the fact that the guy immediately complies with Hurley's commands, some random dude, I think we can conclude that this guy is just a no good, lazy union guy. Hurley says he just needs 5 minutes. The nurse won't give in, but someone recognizes him. And it's a doctor from the hospital who asks him, what are you doing back here?
Yeah, can I just point out something really quick? There's a little bit of set design here that I thought was mildly humorous. Right next to the desk where this receptionist is, there's a black sign with white lettering that says psychiatric admitting.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Anybody standing there knows what type of admitting this building is doing, right? They don't need it on a sign. You just have a sign that says admitting. That's what you would have in real life. But I don't know. Shit like that just pulls me out of it. Like it's really trying to hit it over the audience's head of where Hugo is.
Well, I was going to say that. It's just a quick easy shortcut to establishing where he is, to specifying what kind of hospital he's in.
Yeah, but the fact that we then get this doctor bringing Hurley into the ward where all the psychiatric patients are, that would have been enough to do it. And it would have been, I'm a big believer in show, don't tell when it comes to giving information to the audience.
Yeah, but these are the writers in Lost.
True.
So, yeah, the doctor kindly grants Hurley access to Leonard, who's this twitchy guy with glasses who basically mutters to himself. He's essentially me, but with a receding hairline. And Lenny seems to be like rhythmically chanting the numbers. He's almost exhaling them. He's like, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Yeah, I thought that's what he was muttering to himself because you really can't hear. He's just going. Whereas every now and again you can hear him say 4 or 8, but only from that can you work out that, oh, it is the numbers he's, repeating over and over again, but you really just can't hear them. And he's bizarrely playing 4 in a row against himself.
He just loves numbers, apparently. Hurley asks him what the numbers mean, but Lenny just keeps repeating them until Hurley mentions the lottery. And Leonard suddenly becomes way more lucid.
Yeah, right?
He's freaked. He asks Hurley if he used those numbers to play the lottery. And when Hurley confirms it, he flips the fuck out. And he tells him he shouldn't have done that. He says he, quote, opened the box and that he has to get far, far away from the numbers or it won't stop.
Yeah, Pandora's box is the metaphor I think he's trying to go with here.
The orderlies notice this disturbance and they come and take Lenny away. But before they wrench him through the door, he manages to mention a name, Sam Toomey, and a town, Kalgoorlie in Australia. Back on the island, Saeed and the boys get to the end of the cable, which goes into the ground. And yeah, again, nobody questions where it goes the other way. Charlie summons them from ahead. He's like, come and see this. And they emerge from the trees and there's a rickety bridge over a rocky stream. I'd say it's about what, like 20 feet over it?
Yeah, something like that. It's a sizable height. They
reckon that Rousseau, there's no way she could have built this bridge, at least not alone. It's probably been there for a while. And then Hurley begins to cross the bridge and Jack freaks the fuck out. Naturally, this thing does not look like it could support a lot of weight. But Hurley makes it. He's proven them wrong again.
Do you know what? Statistically, for the benefit of everyone's health and safety, if anyone's going to test it first, it should be Hurley.
That's a great point.
Because Charlie even says it, right? When he goes and Jack tries to stop him, Charlie says, well, if he can do it, to imply if that bridge can take Hurley, I mean.
This time he makes sure to keep his voice low so that Hurley doesn't hear the insult. And Charlie, he attempts the bridge as well. But just as he's about to make it all the way across, Charlie, the fat fuck, breaks the bridge.
Yeah, Hurley loosened it up for him.
It snaps in two, but luckily Charlie's close enough to the other side that he can dive to safety. And Hurley helps him up. But now they're separated from Saeed and Jack. And we have incredibly unevenly matched pairs here, capability-wise. But potential comedic gold on one side.
We have the two action men on one side and Tweedledum and Tweedledee fucking Laurel and Hardy on the other side.
So Jack tells Hurley and Charlie to wait while him and Saeed find a way around. Hurley argues, but Charlie quickly tells him just to settle the fuck down, that they should just stay put. This leads to another flashback, and we're in what looks like Breaking Bad Mexico.
Yeah, that orange tint, right?
But it's actually Australia. We see a shack in like the back arse of the bush and someone knocks on the door. A middle-aged woman opens the door and it's Hurley.
A middle-aged woman answers the door and it's Hurley.
All right. Poorly constructed sentence.
Taking the phrasing on that one.
A middle-aged woman opens the door to reveal Hurley on the other side. How's
there
that?
You go.
Hurley asks if Sam Toomey lives there and she says she's his wife and that Sam's been dead for 4 years. Numbers.
The funny thing is, when that lady opens the door, she actually gives a funny little line of, if this weren't the middle of nowhere, I'd say you were lost.
I didn't really get it.
As in, like, that house is literally surrounded by nothing. The only reason you're going to be there is if you're going to that house.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like they live in nowhere from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
One of the other things I love about that is if you go back and look at this scene, when the door opens and Hurley's talking to this middle-aged woman, who we do find out is Sam's wife, every close-up shot of Hurley has this like, I think it's really bad green screen behind him. He's got this kind of light halo around him that looks as though he's Jesus coming down from the clouds.
Are you sure that's not foreshadowing for his eventual position as the island leader? Major spoilers.
That is some advanced fucking foreshadowing. But you think the Riders of Lost had any idea what they were doing? Nope. Not a clue. So no, I don't think it was that.
So Hurley looks genuinely saddened, or at least like incredibly disheartened at the news of Sam's death. But he's invited in by Mrs. Toomey, who has just the worst fucking Aussie accent.
I find it hilarious.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. I tried to look up this actress's nationality, couldn't find it. She's not well known enough, but I can say with 90% certainty that she's American. Hurley mentions that Sam heard something, and she immediately knows, you're talking about the numbers.
Oh, okay. I'm going to need you to do more of that accent. That's brilliant.
It was particularly offensive at one point on the word also, because an Aussie would say also, right? And she goes like, also. It was fucking awful. But she goes on to explain that Sam and Lenny were stationed at a listening post in the Pacific when they served in the Navy together. And one night, 16 years ago, numbers, he heard a voice repeating the numbers. And she says that her and Sam were later at a fair and there was a bean guessing game. Now tell me you picked up on the absurdity of this. It was guess how many beans there are. Sam guessed the numbers and was correct to the numbers, which means if you put them in sequence, there was 4,815,162,342 beans. That would fill fucking Yankee Stadium, probably.
Hold on. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, right? Average volume of a bean, of a jelly bean, right? Average volume of a jelly bean is 0.0982 square inches, right? And we're going to multiply. No, shut the fuck up. We're going to multiply.
No, I fucking love this.
15, 16, 23, 42, which comes to this obscenely large number. And hold up. This is going to be square inches, right? Inches cubed. So let's just round it down, to be honest. 7.5 million liters is what we're looking at. I don't know why I've converted to liters. I just have.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, wait, hold on. This is cubic inches. Can we do cubic feet? In cubic feet, so we're looking at over 250,000 cubic feet. I'm going to open up another tab. Volume.
Yankee Stadium.
Of Yankee Stadium. Volume of Yankee Stadium. No, that's just giving me seating capacity. Yankee Stadium dimensions. This is not simple. Left field, it's 97 meters. Left center is 122. Center field. What's the
Tell you
height?
what. How about Madison Square Garden?
Madison Square Garden dimensions. Okay, that's really easy. Madison Square Garden is...
because it's a square.
Well done. 200 feet by 485. So...
So how many times would that many beans fill Madison Square Garden?
So if my numbers are correct, that jar of jelly beans would have been 2.8 times larger than Madison Square Garden.
And yet we know it was because Sam guessed the amount of beans correct to the number. Fucking stupid. How?
A jar of jelly beans 3 times the size of Madison Square Garden.
All right. So, nevertheless, they won a fuckload of money and the bad luck immediately started. Mrs. Toomey lost her leg that very day, the very night, in a head-on collision. But Sam barely had a scratch. And Sam soon started keeping a record of all the bad things happening around him. You know, he took measures to minimize the damage, including moving to the middle of nowhere and eventually unaliving himself.
with a fuck ton of jelly beans crushing him.
Yeah, he got. It would have been funny if she was like, then the bad luck started. Someone got crushed by all the jelly beans. But Mrs. Toomey notes that the bad luck stopped after Sam died. Hurley tells her he's under the same curse as Sam, but she's skeptical that there is a curse. And she tells him to make his own luck. And I understand this because she's like, oh, are you saying it's them fucking numbers that cost me my leg? You know, she doesn't want to believe in this thing, which is fair enough.
I don't see how she couldn't believe in this thing.
I think she just doesn't want to believe that it was avoidable.
Okay. Do you know what? I can get that. I can empathize with that.
So back in the island, Locke still hasn't told Claire what they're building. She guesses it might be a trap, but he says nothing. He just gets her to pass him some homemade glue.
In fairness now, that's not a bad guess, given that it's Locke. They're constructing some sort of wooden bamboo apparatus. It's got bars on it. Like, yeah, I would have guessed a trap as well.
That's an educated guess on Claire's part. Claire thinks he'd make a good TV home renovator host.
Claire also doesn't want to get any of that glue near any open wounds.
Because she'll start tripping balls. But then she thanks Locke. She says she just needed something to do. She mentions she's sick of trying to remember what happened when Ethan kidnapped her. And then Locke is like, hey, can we talk about that thing you just said you're sick of thinking about?
Yeah. Well, no, he's doing it delicately. He's not asking her, does she remember any more about that? Just, does she remember anything more? Like, is her memory coming back to her? How is the memory coming along?
I agree. And Claire says she only remembers bits and pieces here and there. And then Locke makes another little dad joke. He says, maybe I can help you. I'm good at putting bits and pieces together.
Because he's literally putting together bits and pieces.
Cut to Jack and Saeed says their surroundings look familiar as they come into this sort of clearing in the jungle. And he reckons they're close to Rousseau's little hovel, close to Rousseau's wallow.
Her lair.
And Jack triggers a tripwire, which causes a huge explosion. Although I think it's pretty clear that neither of them are blown up in this scene. It just kind of throws them back.
Yeah, the explosion happens some distance away from them.
It's close enough to Jack that he should have had some burns, I think, but whatever. Anyway, Hurley and Charlie notice it and they start running towards the noise. And it turns out the explosion was Rousseau's fucking lair.
Yeah.
She rigged her entire base to self-destruct if anyone came near.
Yeah, but quite bizarrely, Jack and Saeed go through the rubble of it and discover that she'd completely cleared it out. If she'd cleared it out, why set it to self-destruct?
I guess because she still thinks, Saeed reckons that she knew he'd be back and she abandoned the place and booby-trapped it. She still thinks that he might be one of the others. She's not convinced. But I mean, getting rid of all your shit, this home that you've built for years and years and spent all your time in, all that work just to booby-trap it and blow it up. That is commitment to crazy right there.
Or else she's just gotten so fucking accustomed to leaving behind booby traps literally everywhere she goes.
That could be it, but she does kind of imply in that Saeed episode that she built that place, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So Jack wonders aloud, where do you think she's moved on to? We cut to Hurley and Charlie, who are looking for Jack and Saeed, and they're following the sound of the blast. Charlie's all pissed off at Hurley because he's not acting like his usual jolly self. And Hurley points out to Charlie that he doesn't really know him. Charlie keeps ranting and he sort of casually slips in the word nutter, and that gets Hurley's goat. He stops and he turns
he says
around.
He's acting like a nutter.
Nutter. Hurley stops. He turns around. He firmly tells Charlie that he's not crazy.
Yeah, Hurley's got a thing about being called crazy, either flippantly or seriously or jokingly. No, he's not having any of it.
And it's more just, I think, his beliefs or his attitudes being dismissed as crazy as well. He doesn't like that. But Charlie says he has a right to know. And Hurley actually concedes this. He gives in and he begins to tell his story before quickly being interrupted by a bullet ricocheting off a tree behind Charlie.
And both of them just fucking stand there. Like, what just happened? Hurley barely gets the question out. Are we being shot at?
He inquisitively asks if someone's shooting at them, but he's cut off by another gunshot. And the two of them just fucking booted in opposite directions. And we follow Hurley. Hurley runs and runs. He trips, he falls, he gets up, and he's met with the barrel of a gun in his face.
I wouldn't have been too fucking worried being confronted by Rousseau with a gun, because after those last two shots, she got her fucking shooting lessons off stormtroopers.
Yeah, it is Rousseau holding the gun, and it is great to see her again. Shout out to Mira Furlan.
Yeah, great to see her again. All right. I love every appearance of her in the show. She's so good.
Yeah, great character. Great little story. Hurley identifies himself as a survivor. You know, he name drops Saeed, and then he takes the note with the numbers from his pocket and he holds them in Rousseau's face, asks her about them.
The fucking fortitude of this man. He is staring down the barrel of a gun, but he's not letting that stop him. He needs to know about these fucking numbers.
He's not going to die without knowing, basically. And Rousseau says she doesn't know what the numbers mean. And Hurley fucking loses it. And he starts listing off all these theories like, there's a monster in there. Maybe it's a pissed off giraffe. And when we pointed out that Hurley had the best theory in the past, that it might be a T-Rex, pissed off giraffe's not bad either.
No. And I love how he's just one twitchy finger away from getting his brains blown out, and he goes off on the woman holding the gun.
Yeah. He says it's pretty weird that no one's looking for them, but he rolls with the punches on all this fucking weird shit because he's good old fun time Hurley. But now he wants some answers. And he can't help but think he's the voice of the fans in this situation.
Damn straight, yeah. That's why we love him. He always has been the voice of the fans. The odd comment here, like, didn't see that comment, shit like this.
That's our Valentine. Drink cans with us, Jorge.
Oh, here's one for you, buddy.
And Rousseau lowers her gun because crazy recognize crazy, I guess. And she starts telling a story. She says her ship, the one that we know she previously got shipwrecked on, she says it picked up a transmission of the numbers, which is why they turned around, to find the source of them. And the numbers are pretty much the reason why she got shipwrecked on the island. She mentions they traced the transmission to a radio tower near the Black Rock. But she says after all her team died of the sickness, which she mentions again, she changed the transmission in the radio tower to her distress call. So it was playing the numbers right up until 16 years ago numbers when she changed it. Hurley tells her the numbers are cursed. And Rousseau considers this. She talks, she says, oh, this shit started happening after we heard them. Yeah, I think you might be right, dude.
I guess they are cursed.
And Hurley is so relieved to have someone finally agree with them that he just gives her a massive hug. And it's a really sweet moment.
I love it.
It's very unexpectedly sweet. And of all the people to pacify Rousseau's sort of twitchy aggression and unpredictability, I love that it's Hurley.
Do you know what? You say aggression. I'm not getting any aggression from Rousseau at all. Even when she has a gun pointed at Hurley, it's almost as if Mira is invoking, I don't know, it's like she's trying to portray the human equivalent of a scared, cornered cat that will run away the second you walk near it or something. She just has this kind of like, not to overuse the word, but like this twitchy, hesitant, nervous disposition about her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Aggression was the wrong word.
Yeah. Even when Hurley's talking to her and she's holding the gun to him, she just has this look about her like she's stock still, ready to leg it at any second. But
also sort of curious. The cat comparison is good because she's kind of like cocking her head almost like a cat would do, looking at something. She's like, well, what is this? We come back to Jack and Saeed, who are finishing up, and Saeed finds a fragment of the photo of Nadia, which conveniently has her entire face still intact.
Oh, that's nice.
And he pockets it as Charlie arrives, confirming that she really is his true love. Fuck you, Shannon.
Yeah, that's gonna be complicated emotions.
They're worried about Hurley, and they're about to go looking for him when he shows up.
Just out of nowhere.
He's like, let's go. And he says, go where? And motherfucker's got a battery.
Okay, pause for a second. Where did this fucking battery come from? Don't tell me Rousseau gave it to him. Think of the amount of time that's passed. No time has passed whatsoever. Did she just have it in her fucking knickers or something? Or did she set up another base like super close by the first one, which would have made no sense?
Does she have a bag on her or anything? I thought maybe it could be in a bag.
And how did Hurley find them?
Maybe he kind of remembered the direction the explosion came from before.
Hurley found his way through the jungle to where the explosion happened.
Well, it didn't take Charlie long to get to them, so neither of them could have been that far away.
Charlie ran in the direction of it.
Yeah, but Hurley didn't get that far, I'm guessing. He's a big dude.
True. True.
So Hurley tells Saeed that Rousseau says hey, and they start heading back. They get back to the camp that night. Saeed hands Michael the battery, and Locke and Claire are finishing up on their little project. And Locke asks Claire if she's got a name picked for the baby. Claire says she hasn't thought of one yet. She confides in him that she was going to put it up for adoption. And she also reveals that it's her birthday.
Aww.
It's quite a heartbreaking little moment, I thought. Like, she says, why would I tell anybody? And she's not wrong, but I don't know. Claire just seems like the type of person who would want attention on her birthday. And I don't mean that in a sort of criticizing way, but she's the type of person who deserves attention on her birthday. Put it that way.
Yeah, she does.
Especially in her condition. Well, condition, that feels insulting, but you know what I mean? Being as heavily pregnant as she is, she just needs someone to care for her, to look out for her. Her fucking best mate fucked off into the jungle after Hurley.
Supposedly, yeah.
So Locke says that her and her baby's birthdays being close together is good luck. And then he says he's finished and he turns his little project over. And maybe it's because I knew what was coming, but that thing looked like a cradle long before he flipped it upright. Don't you think Claire should have been able to tell?
Yeah, once the legs went on it, yeah. Although you can kind of see how it sort of looks like a cage.
Yeah, I guess it could be mistaken for a cage. But Claire, either way, Claire is fucking delighted. And Locke is just such a lovely man.
Also, do you happen to have it in your trivia what date Claire's birthday is?
Ooh, I don't, but it could be figured out.
I just did.
What date's Claire's birthday?
It's October 28th.
October 28th. Nice.
Because this is day 36 on the island.
So Hurley's sitting by the fire. We cut to him. He's drying his shirt, and Charlie comes over and they banter a bit. Charlie's like, I know food is scarce, but your shirt.
Yeah, Hurley's just roasting his shirt on an open fire.
And then Charlie presses him on the inspiration for his quest again. He was about to tell him earlier before Rousseau fired those gunshots. And Hurley says he thinks the plane crash was his fault. And Charlie's like, don't be talking shite. And he confides in him about his drug addiction. He says, you know what I was doing when the plane was going down? I was snorting heroin. And I was like the look on Hurley's face here. He looks really dejected. I was half expecting him to go, do you have any left?
I mean, you're on a stranded island with no hope of rescue. I mean, you'd nearly fucking try anything, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm surprised Sawyer hasn't gotten into a stash yet. And then Charlie urges Hurley to sort of trade him a secret for a secret. Hurley obliges, and he says he's worth $156 million back home.
So what did he lose like 60 million on?
Yeah, true, because we said he doubled his net worth, which was originally 114 to 228 mil.
And now he's all the way down to 156. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude is rich as sin, but
I think I know what he did. On his way out of Australia, he bought 4.8 billion jelly beans. But Charlie doesn't believe him, and he gets really pissed off. He thinks Hurley's taking the piss, and he's like, fine, you don't want to share? Fuck you, or whatever. Not in so many words. And he pisses off, and he's left to wonder what he did wrong. We cut to our final scene. It's a shot of the hatch. We got some hatch in that previously on Lost. You knew it was coming. No one's around, however. The hatch is solitary in the dark, and the camera slowly zooms in to what looks like maybe the serial number on the hatch door. And if you've never seen Lost before, if you've never seen this episode, you wouldn't have to be a genius to guess the numbers that are on there.
Yeah.
It's the numbers, baby. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Lost. We done.
Boom. End of episode.
What did you think?
Fucking great episode. You know I love anything to do with Hurley, and Hurley-centric episode did not disappoint.
Yeah, it gave a nice bit of pathos to Hurley's character, because while he is the comic relief, it did show that he's not particularly happy with not being taken seriously all the time.
Yeah, I did like to see that. I mean, Hurley has been this comic relief, but he's been very self-aware about it, referring to himself as, I just roll with the punches because I'm good time Hurley, And he's sick of it. He wants to be taken seriously about something.
Exactly. And this show is not a sitcom, so there's not really anything else they could have done with a Hurley-centric episode. We've been waiting a long time for one. And of course, they were going to go into the more serious aspects of his backstory, but it is Hurley, so it's going to be lighthearted too.
Yeah, love it.
All right, Ado, I got a big fat chicken bucket of trivia here. There was 4.8 billion jelly beans. I have an equally big amount of trivia for this episode. There's a lot because there's a lot of trivia around these numbers. You ready for this shit?
Before you jump into that, I'm starting to think my calculations regarding the jelly beans might be a bit skewed because I tried to calculate how many jelly beans it would be. You said 4.8 billion. When I tried to reverse engineer my mathematics and work backwards, I came to 3 million jelly beans. So I don't think I did it right. I think I miscalculated. Can we get Ryan on to write into us to let us know where we went wrong with calculations on the jelly beans?
Ryan's got a great mind for maths. Maybe he can do that. Ryan, can we ask you to figure out what sports stadiums we could fill with 4,815,162,342 jelly beans? And if that sounded slow, I had to rhyme that off from memory there. So, all right, you ready for this trivia?
I am ready.
Fucking get comfortable, folks. It's going to be a big one.
Let's do it.
So when Hurley is mistaken for a drug dealer and arrested, do you remember I said I had?
You had some trivia to do with this.
Yeah. And note that his accountant in the next scene said, who would mistake you for a drug dealer? Something like that, right?
Right.
This is a reference to an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in which Jorge Garcia plays a drug dealer.
What?
This role was what got him noticed by the producers of Lost and got him the role as Hurley.
No fucking. I did not know Curb Your Enthusiasm was that early. I thought that was much later than Lost.
Yeah, no, that show is still going. And I think it started in like 2003.
Fuck. I did not think it was that old.
Yeah, they took like a really long break. I think the season that's currently on was the first one in a number of years, like 5 or 6 years.
All right.
Have you watched Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I generally don't because it's cringe comedy.
Oh, true. Yeah. You're not a fan.
Having said that, on mute in front of me, I've got the scene with Jorge Garcia in it, playing in front of me, Larry David trying to buy weed off him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. That's Hurley. So Lost and Curb Your Enthusiasm happen in the same universe, confirmed.
Yeah, so great little nod there. Okay, so next bit of trivia. Of course, after the episode aired, a bunch of people used the numbers to do the lotto.
Yes, I did remember hearing something about this, but I'll let you tell it. Go.
So according to the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, which is a newspaper in the city of Pittsburgh, the numbers were used locally over 500 times within 3 days of the episode airing.
Of course.
In the same period, over 200 people in Michigan alone used them. And by October of 2005, remember this aired in March, so about 7 months later, thousands of people had tried them in the multi-state Powerball lottery. On January 4th, 2011, there was a Mega Millions drawing for a near record $380 million jackpot.
Holy
and
shit.
The numbers 4, 8, and 15 were drawn, as well as the Mega Ball, which was 42. So that's 4 of the 6 numbers, the first 3 and the last one, which was the bonus number, same as Hurley. The players who played the combination, and according to a tweet from Damon Lindelof, there was 9,078 people, all won $150 each.
Really?
Yeah. Now that wasn't divided the full jackpot. It was only 4 of the 6 numbers. And also that was $118 in California because I think it's a multi-state lottery, but I think the winnings are taxed differently in different states, something like that. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that on the 16th of November, 2005, in the Irish National Lottery,
what?
The winning numbers were 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, and 24.
Oh!
But that is 42 with reverse digits.
Yeah. What the fuck?
That's the closest in the world a lottery has gotten to directly drawing the numbers, and it's in our very own country.
Makes me proud to be Irish.
Fuck yeah, I'm delighted with that.
Fuck yes. Man, that makes me so happy. I did not know that.
Me too. Fucking love that fact.
I don't think I don't know what other trivia you've got, but nothing can top that.
Yeah, maybe I should have saved it for the end, although I do have some interesting ones saved for the end as well.
All right.
So on Rousseau's notes displaying the repeated numbers, the bit that Hurley finds that he shows her, the number sequence is repeated 7 times, right? If you count those numbers in standard reading format, that is starting at the top, reading a line left to right, then moving to the next line beneath, 8 is the 8th number, 15 is the 15th, 16 is the 16th, 23 is the 23rd, and 42 is the 42nd.
Holy shit.
The only one that doesn't hit is 4. If 4 were a 1 or a 7, it would work with all the numbers.
Oh.
But that's very satisfying, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That is, I mean, it's not 100% satisfying, but it is enough.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that.
And I should note that there's even a section on the Lostpedia page about the numbers where you can sort of work these numbers into almost anything by like adding them together or whatever. You know, there's actually a formula they lay out there. I can't remember what it is. I probably should have taken it down because you're into maths physics. You'd appreciate that. But so it's like, you know, take the numbers facts with a pinch of skepticism. Obviously, not everything is intentional. In fact, very few of them probably are.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, Danielle's numbers map, the one I just referred to, has exactly the same columns and rows if rotated 90 degrees as a Connect 4 board, which Lenny is using while being questioned by Hurley.
Holy shit, that cannot have been intentional. That's ridiculous.
But even the coincidences are pretty interesting considering the nature of the numbers. Next bit of trivia. Earlier on, you asked me if this was the first time we'd seen the numbers. And I said, you know, these numbers have shown up in the show before, not in this sequence, but we've seen the numbers. And you said that doesn't count, right? Fair enough. But those appearances actually determined what the numbers would be. So in an interview with none other than our boys Lostpedia, David Fury talked about how the numbers are developed. And I'm going to read this quote here, okay?
Oh, okay.
So he said, quote, "When I started writing the episode, Numbers, I already figured to use numbers that had been heard in the show. 4, number of years Locke was in a wheelchair. 8:15 for flight 8:15, etc." End quote. He also confirmed that the number 42 is an homage to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Naturally, always know where your towel is.
And that the original idea to include a set of numbers, which would be important, that was originally J.J. Abrams' idea.
So not as deep and meaningful as I would have hoped the numbers origins would have been, but
yeah,
okay.
For their selection. Yeah. The original interview with David Fury doesn't address where he got the number 23, but Jack and Rose did sit in row 23 on the plane. So it's likely that's where he got it.
And reward for Kate was $23,000.
Oh, nice. There you go. So speaking of meanings behind the numbers, at Comic-Con 2005, I think, Damon Lindelof was asked what the numbers mean, and he stated that we may never know what the numbers mean, which prompted a lot of backlash, and Lindelof later said he regretted saying it. But he expounded on his comments in 2008, and he compared seeking an explanation to the numbers to the midichlorians explanation in Phantom Menace. Do you know what that is?
I kind of have half an idea. If you end up getting an explanation, you're just going to be disappointed with it because it removes all the mystery. Yeah,
pretty much. Like he said that Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of describes the Force in A New Hope as like, I don't know, I can't remember the exact wording, but he describes the Force as just this sort of energy. And Lindelof said, isn't that explanation good enough? But then they did the midichlorians explanation in Phantom Menace, and it kind of ripped some of the magic out of it, like you said. So Lindelof said, why can't they just be bad luck? However, a year later in 2009, he did describe the meaning behind the numbers. Now, I think this is canon and is hinted at in the show.
Okay, go
and
on.
And is somewhat of a spoiler. Do you want me to read the quote?
Please.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Lost, this is going to mean nothing to you because this is some heavy Dharma Initiative shit, right?
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a possible origin story. Maybe it doesn't explain the mystical qualities of the numbers, but maybe why they, I don't know, maybe why they're associated with bad things, right? So here's a direct quote from Damon Lindelof. Here's the story with the numbers. The Hanso Foundation that started the Dharma Initiative hired this guy, Valenzetti, to basically work on this equation to determine what was the probability of the world ending in the wake of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Valenzetti basically deduced that it was 100% within the next 27 years, so the Hanso Foundation started the Dharma Initiative in an effort to try to change the variables in the equation so that mankind wouldn't wipe itself out. The variables in the equation were the numbers. Now, that is an in-universe explanation. Those numbers don't mean anything in real life.
No, of course not. Interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that explanation, but okay, it's an explanation.
Okay, I have a couple more fun things about the numbers here, and then we can move on to just episode trivia.
Oh, yes, please.
The numbers appear on a clapperboard in the animation video for the ABC Studios logo that they've used since 2008, which I think is a nice little nod by that corporation. Yeah.
I think I did know that one years ago.
Yeah, you can see they have like one of those action clapperboards and the numbers are on there. And I'm pretty sure they still use that animation to this day. I could be wrong, but it started in 08. The number sequence exactly 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42 is not found in the first 1 billion digits of pi.
It's not found.
It does not show up in sequence. We get very close. We get all but the last number. So we get 4, 8, 1, 5, 1, 6, 2, 3, 2. And then I think there's a 1 after that. And that's about 176,000 digits into pi. And then I can't remember what the other one is, but I think instead of 42, it's 44 or something. And that's about 900,000 digits into pi. But I just thought that was interesting. According to one estimate, on the morning of May 21st, 1984, the population of the world was 4,815,162,342. May 21st, 1984.
I am going to call bullshit on that one.
That's according to one estimate. Why do you call bullshit?
It's an estimate down to the very person. I'm sorry, but no. I fully reject that one.
Yeah, I understand that multiple people are born at once. I think it's like, is it 4 people every second or something like that? I think I heard before. But I guess we passed that number on that morning. Will you accept that?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll take that.
I have one more bit of numbers trivia, but I'm going to save that till the end because I think it's a good one to end on. Bit of trivia about this episode. We spoke earlier about how there wasn't much meaning to the title, but I just realized I was wrong because this is the first episode to be named after a book in the Bible.
Oh, come on. That's a fucking stretch.
Whether intentional or not, up for debate, probably not, but it's one of only 3 episodes to draw its name from a biblical book. The others being Exodus,
which is the finale of this season.
Correct. And there's another episode called the 23rd Psalm.
Is that the name of a book in the Bible?
It's the name of a psalm in the Bible.
The 23rd. I don't know. That one's a bit hokey.
Maybe not a book, but it's from the Bible at least.
Okay, sure. It's a biblical reference.
So the scene where Hurley's showing his ma the house that he bought her, he's wearing a necklace that has a Chinese character on it, and that is the Chinese character for fortune or luck.
Because fuck knows he needs it.
In the news report about the lottery at the start, there's a voice that says, "That's right, Mary Jo, because this is the 16th week without a winner."
16.
Yeah, not just the number, though. That voice is Carlton Cuse.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, executive producer of the show, one of the head writers. And speaking of Mary Jo, who that character references, do you recognize that name?
Mary Jo, no.
Mary Jo, played by Brittany Perno, is the woman who draws the winning numbers in the lottery, giving Hurley the jackpot. And she's the same woman who Sawyer brought back to his hotel room in Outlaws.
Oh.
Not only is it the same actress, they're the same character.
Fuck off.
Yeah, they're both Mary Jo.
Oh, dude, that is so cool. I love it.
Great little connection that I don't know that I would have gotten.
No, me neither.
All right, so we talked about this hip-hop song.
Yeah. I mean, I thought this was just a random song that pulled from the airwaves, but you've got some interesting trivia on it.
The interesting thing isn't so much about the song. Remember I mentioned I searched the song on Shazam and I couldn't find anything. And like you said, Shazam is wizardry. It knows fucking everything.
Yeah.
I was really curious. So the artist and title behind this song were not identified for 15 years after this episode aired.
What?
This was revealed on February 11th, 2020. So
Holy
2 years
shit.
ago, the week this episode airs, on a podcast called Down the Hatch. Shout out. Don't listen to them. Listen to us. The artist was Chris the Glove Taylor, who created this song with the help of a friend specifically for the show.
Okay.
It was never released in any other capacity.
Holy shit. And that wasn't found out for years.
15 years after this episode aired. It's crazy, right? Hopefully Jorge Garcia can give us something juicy like that so we can pull some of those down the hatch listeners.
Yeah, come on, Jorge. No pressure.
All right. I got a couple of goofs for you. Just 2 this week.
I love goofs.
And funny enough, they happen in the same scene.
Go on.
So at 15 minutes and 21 seconds, when the bamboo float falls apart, a sailboat can be seen in the distance behind Jin.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. I'm looking at it.
I bet Michael wishes he had that SOS flare now.
Do you know what? It's blinking, you'll miss it.
As these things usually are.
Yeah.
16 seconds later at 15:37, as Jin and Michael start arguing, a building can be seen behind them down the beach.
Oh, yeah, shit. There's like a little house. Fucking hell. It's so obvious. It's literally in between. It's framed in between Michael and Jin's heads as they're arguing. And it's on screen for like a solid 4 seconds or something.
So there are a couple of references in the episode. At one point, Charlie calls Hurley Colonel Bloody Kurtz. That's a reference to the 1979 movie Heart of Darkness. The insane Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando.
I knew it was familiar.
I'm sorry, I said the movie was Heart of Darkness. The movie is Apocalypse Now. The book that it's based on is called Heart of Darkness. My apologies. There's also a reference to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom when Sawyer calls Walt Short Round, which is a character in that movie. I haven't actually seen that Indiana Jones, but I think I know the character.
No, I haven't seen a single Indiana Jones movie. I have no idea.
Later on in the episode, Hurley and Charlie cross the bridge, the treacherous bridge, and it's reminiscent of a bridge featured in one of the final scenes in that same Indiana Jones movie. And that bridge also collapses. Did you say you hadn't seen any Indiana Jones movies?
I've never seen a single Indiana Jones movie.
I've only seen the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Highly recommend. Great movie. I have 3 more bits of trivia and then we can get the fuck out of here.
Boy, you weren't kidding. This is a meaty section.
So this is the weirdest piece of trivia I found. And I didn't verify this. This was just one piece of trivia on IMDb, 1 sentence, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It's fucking hilarious. I'm going to read it out word for word, okay?
Okay.
An early version of Hurley's backstory had him as a world-class repo man.
That's the most bizarre thing ever.
First off, fair enough. Maybe he decided he'd be a repo man. World-class?
How do you get world-class in the world of repossessing people's stuff?
What makes a world-class repo man?
I have no idea.
All right, this next one. There's a lot of fat jokes made about our boy Hurley, about our boy Jorge Garcia in this show.
And they have not aged well.
No. And with the caveat that, there's no ideal way for your body to look. And as long as you're happy on the inside, yada, 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 There's a little small victory for Jorge here. So Hurley's ma complains that he's gaining weight in that episode where he's watching TV. In reality, by the time they filmed this scene, Jorge Garcia had lost nearly 30 pounds due to the rigor of filming in Hawaii.
Oh, shit.
The producers actually asked him to stop losing weight so the flashback scenes would show him at a consistent size.
Well, I mean, that makes sense from a production standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Jorge, though. And yeah, that must have been fucking tough filming in Hawaii. It's not all fucking...
the heat, man. You'd sweat it off.
Yeah, and that jungle is probably treacherous enough as well. It's not all beaches and fucking brandy. All right, so I said I had one more bit of trivia about the numbers, and I want to make a promise here. I want to make a promise to our listeners based on this, okay? So Lost fans widely celebrated Lost Day in 2015. It was April 8th at 4:23 and 42 seconds. So because they're Yanks, it's the 4th of the 8th, 15 at 16:23 and 42 seconds. That was lost second, right?
Lost second.
But I'd like to make a commitment to our listeners here, because this is a once in a century event, that if we figure out the formula to everlasting life, we will come back in 2115 and do a special episode to be released at exactly that time, except because we're European, we'll do it on the 4th of August, 2115. Ado, I'll see you then.
I will see you then. I mean, we don't have to work out the secret to immortality. I just have to reach the age of 125. That's not unreasonable.
Easy peasy with the way technology's going.
Exactly. I'm going to have my consciousness put into a Furby or something by that time.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably be using this podcast to program lifelike robots of us based on our personalities.
I'll just be filled with nothing but sex jokes and Dutch Gold references.
So you'll be identical to your current self.
No change whatsoever.
All right, Edo, we made it through. That is our meaty ass bucket of chicken trivia section. And that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening this week, folks. We really implore you to get our hashtag Cans with Jorge campaign out there. We'd really appreciate it. Send us an email, share this show with a friend who likes Lost, and follow us on social media. You'll get all the links at the end. Before we go, Edo, what is your theory this week?
My theory this week is that Locke was initially building a cage to keep Claire's baby in, but then changed it to a crib, fearing she might figure out what it was while building it.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Don't let anybody tell you any other way. Edo, thanks for your company this week, as always. Thank you for listening. Take care.
Good night.
Lost the Plot is produced by me and Edo. The artwork is by Jimmy Purcell of BeenBetterComic.com. The music is by Noel Brennan of No Exit. You can check out No Exit wherever you stream your music. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LostThePlotLads, and you can email us at losttheplotlads@gmail.com.